What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 4-4 YouTube channel. I'm Hutch Brown, delivering you a video all about 5 transactions that you need to make in fantasy football this week. Whether it's an add or a drop, a buy or a sell, I'm here to deliver 5 transactions that you need to make in your fantasy football leagues this week. Before I get in this video, though, please subscribe to the 4-4 Football YouTube channel and click that little notification bell so you'll be notified every single time a new video drops on this awesome YouTube channel. And you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at HutchinsonB_FF and find all the content I do from there. I'm just a teenager trying to make his way in the fantasy football space. So any love or support would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. 5 transactions that you need to make in your fantasy football leagues this week. Here we go. The first one is going to be selling Jerome Ford. Sell Jerome Ford in fantasy football. In week 2, when Nick Chubb went down, Jerome Ford came on the field as a relief, and he looked fantastic. 16 carries, 106 yards, also caught 3 passes on 4 targets. He looked good. He looked really good with the ball in his hands. But since then, he's been pedestrian. Watching him on the field over the last 3 weeks, he's kind of looked pedestrian. He's looked fine. He hasn't looked fantastic for fantasy football by any means. This past week, coming off a week 5 bye, something really scary happened because they signed Kareem Hunt, the Browns did, a few weeks ago, and he hasn't been so involved so far. But this past week, Kareem Hunt saw 15 opportunities. That's nearly tripling what he was seeing in the first couple weeks. And adding on to that, his snap share nearly doubled. Jerome Ford saw an all-time low in snaps from the last 3 weeks. If this continues, Jerome Ford's going to be a really mediocre, really headache-causing asset in fantasy football because we don't know where the touchdowns are going to go. The passing work's going to be split around because they're both solid pass catchers. It's going to be a disaster. So if you can sell Jerome Ford for what we thought he was going to be after week 2, you should absolutely do that because he's not going to be that player. The next one's a bit of a twofer, but I think it's very self-explanatory why. We're talking about adding Jordan Mason, adding Elijah Mitchell, the 49ers running back situation. Christian McCaffrey went down with a oblique injury last week, and he did try to come back in the game, but it didn't work out, and he left and went to the locker room and did not return for the rest of the game. We don't know if he's going to miss time. We really don't. It doesn't seem like too serious of an injury. He was running by himself in the locker room, so we'll see how it goes for his injury for this week. But if he were to miss time, I want to at least address the 49ers backfield and how I think it's going to look out. If Christian McCaffrey went down week 4, I would tell you I'd rather want Elijah Mitchell because Elijah Mitchell had out-touch and out-snap Jordan Mason in the first 4 weeks of the season. But Elijah Mitchell lately has been struggling with a little bit of injury. He hasn't looked great. And Jordan Mason's looked really good with his opportunities. He's out-snapped and out-touched Elijah Mitchell in each of the last 2 weeks. And he was the guy that came in to relieve Christian McCaffrey when he was injured. He was the player. It wasn't Elijah Mitchell. It was Jordan Mason who got the snaps, who got those opportunities. Jordan Mason got in the end zone last week. And I mean, he had 5 carries, 27 yards and a touchdown this past week. Like, he looked good. If Elijah Mitchell continues to stay a bit injured, still continues to be hobbled, Jordan Mason's going to be the lead back for this team. I would not say he's going to be the workhorse. Elijah Mitchell's obviously going to be involved. This is going to be a bit of a committee no matter what. No one's going to get the Christian McCaffrey role besides Christian McCaffrey. But Jordan Mason's going to be a very, very relevant piece in fantasy football. If you had to tell me right now that you can only add one of these 2 players, I'm going to be adding Jordan Mason because I think his upside is higher due to the fact that Elijah Mitchell's dealing with a bit of injury. I know Kyle Shanahan does like Elijah Mitchell. We saw what Elijah Mitchell did in his rookie year, but Jordan Mason has straight about played him over the last 2 weeks, and I think that's going to continue moving forward. Michael Mayer, we want to add him in fantasy football. I think he's a good buy in Dynasty too, just to throw that out there. I mean, I had been promoting that all last week. Last week after his 3-target game, I was like, yes, buy Michael Mayer. It's starting. His role is only going to grow from here. Get in on him. I was pretty much all over it on Twitter. And this week, that came to fruition. 6 targets this past week. 6 targets, 5 catches. He was a very relevant piece in the offense. Unfortunately, Jimmy Garoppolo's gone down to an injury, so we don't know what's going to go on with him. We don't know how much time he's going to miss. But 6 targets, 5 receptions is just, for a tight end, that's fantastic. Add Michael Mayer in a deeper redraft league. He's rostered in 5% of leagues. And Dynasty, if you can still buy him, the window's probably rapidly shutting. If not, it's already slammed shut. But if you can get him for cheaper, I'd do it. I think it's going to be worth it. The next 2 transactions here, the first one is going to be dropping Dalvin Cook. This is a bit of a negative one. I think this is long overdue. He's still rostered in 50+% of leagues, and I just don't know why. I don't understand. Dalvin Cook has looked terrible on the field. Looked absolutely terrible. Dalvin Cook is completely cooked. There is no argument against that. He looks terrible. If he can't beat out Michael Carter for a role in this offense, he's not worth rostering in fantasy. The only reason he could be somewhat, maybe, possibly, maybe relevant is if Breece Hall goes down and Michael Carter is going down. That's it. Even with that opportunity, he is washed. I wouldn't be surprised if he had an opportunity of 20 carries. He took it for like 32 yards. If you are still rostering Dalvin Cook, drop him. Get rid of him. Find somebody with some potential. Somebody. I'd rather have Elijah Mitchell. I'd rather have Jordan Mason. We're buying Amari Cooper. Buy in on Amari Cooper. Even though Deshaun Watson's played terrible football so far, even though he got injured and Amari Cooper's had to play with backup quarterbacks, even with a Nick Chubb injury, even though this offense has been pretty gross and that their defense has been carrying them in games, Amari Cooper has still found ways to be good in fantasy football. While you look at the overall finish, he's like in the 30s in wide receivers. That's not great. It's just because he's been inconsistent. He's had a couple games where he just completely didn't really let you down, but he's had other games where he's looked fantastic. But when he's on his highest, he's producing wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 level numbers. And right now in fantasy football, with how gross the Browns offense is, with how much people don't like it, you can buy Amari Cooper pretty cheap, both redraft and especially in Dynasty because of his age. So if you're a competing Dynasty team, I'd look for that as well. But Amari Cooper overall, I think, is strictly undervalued. He's on pace to have a really solid season yet again. I would be buying him. People are just grossed out by the Browns offense way too much. And to be fair, they have it bad. But Amari Cooper has found ways to be great for fantasy in the Browns offense. All right, but that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That's 5 transactions for this week in fantasy football. Before I leave, please subscribe to the 4-4 YouTube channel. Please click that little notification bell so you'll be notified every single time a new video drops. And follow me on Twitter. I'm at HutchinsonB_FF. We'll see you all next week. Or, yeah, actually this week. I'll be making a matchup video for the 4-4 channel. So check that out when that comes later this week. See ya.